Yo, what's up gamers? Russ here, coming at you with a commentary in Season 3 on a Demon Hunter this time. Some of you may remember, some of you might be newer, but I originally started doing this channel with these kind of commentaries, talking through my dungeon runs. This one, for example, is a +20 Sanguine Depths. I'm playing Night Fae Demon Hunter. This is pre-Double Legendary, so this is the week before Double Legendary, so quite an early one in Season 3. And I picked this key to be the first one because I thought there were a couple good things about it that I have things to say, and a couple bad things also, which I guess I'd like to shine a spotlight on just to highlight my mistakes as well as what I do well, so that it can be a learning experience for the viewer, that being you guys. Now I'll speed up and slow down some parts of the key. You don't need to watch a 5-minute Tyrannical boss fight. I don't think I can fill the time for a 5-minute Tyrannical boss fight, and you probably also don't want to watch like a 30-45 minute video or something, And for anyone wondering, yeah, I'm sick right now, but that doesn't stop us, so we're going to get on with the video. Now I'm going to put my talents up on screen for you now, as well as my gear. I'm running a 259, I believe. I do have the the cache of acquisitions trinket from Zymox as well in my bag. I don't think I ran it for this key. I'll talk about that one in another run, about how you can utilize that trinket for big damage. It works better in some keys than others, but I feel like it's not as good on Demon Hunter as it is on some other classes. But I'll make another video talking about that maybe, or just talk about it in another commentary. So jumping into the key now then, this is a +20 Sanguine Depths, week, I don't know, week 3 I think of the Season 3. We're running Tyrannical, Raging, Volcanic, and obviously Encrypted. So with the first pull here, we're only double pulling. Some tanks will up to triple pull this into the Lantern. We've got I think our Venthyr is the Paladin, I'm assuming, with the, Ashen and things like that. Now on these packs, one thing that you can do is you're going to be firstly dodging the traps on the floor. Those are the Huntsmasters that put those down. They're just little traps with the red circle around them. They will really, really hurt you, probably even kill you, even on non-Tyrannical. And then you see these skirmisher mobs. They're going to do a cast called Animate Weapon. You can actually stop that with something like a stun or an imprison or something like that. So that's just something you can do to help out your team there. They do a bit of damage to the tank, the Animate Weapons. But you might get people who ask you to let them through, like mages and rogues, for example, might want to use them for funnel. But yeah, so just something to bear in mind. That's something that you can stop. In the next pack, we pretty much go for the relic on every single one of the packs that we can, unless we need the Invisiboy, what's it called, Woe, I think, for any skips or something. But we've got a rogue for shrouds, so we're probably just going to be tunneling Woe every single time. Obviously on the Mist Dancer, just dodge the Deadly Thrust. Now here we went for a shroud and we skipped this brute. Here's my first mistake of the key. I actually forgot to click off my Immolation Aura, so this costed us not only 5 seconds for my death here of stupidity. So always remember to click off your Immolation Aura if you are going to go for a shroud skip. But I also lost, I think it's 6 or 8 stacks of the buff from the Lantern as well. Which, losing off one person is not really a big deal. But the fact that my team had to stop and res me meant that they also lost like 10 seconds for the cast of the Masteress, right? So we did lose a bit of damage on the group for that. And that is actually my mistake. So there you go, lesson to be learned. Turn off your Immolation Aura, and you'll see later on when we skip next time, I actually do that. Now on these tick pulls, you're going to be interrupting when you can, but also you can stop them once the channel starts going down, right? So you see I can let it charge up, and then the kidney comes in that time, and then like after it charges up and then it kind of winds down, you can kick it after it winds down, because then the ability is on cooldown at that point. If you kick it on the wind up, as soon as it comes out, if you stun it on the wind up, as soon as it comes out the stun, it's just going to recast that ability straight away. One more thing, if these brutes do that leap where they put that blue swirly on the ground, you can actually just stand in that. It's fine. It just does AoE damage to the entire raid. It's telegraphed as a swirly, so your brain starts to think, all right, don't stand in that. You see people move out of it all the time. You actually don't need to, but I still recommend that you do if you can, just to be in a habit of moving out of swirlies, I guess. Now this was a Tyrannical key as well, so the boss fights do go on a long time. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Sanguine Depths and Tyrannical. Firstly, the bosses have so much HP. You can't really get the Lantern buff with them too often. But they're just annoying. Like this guy just takes a long time. It's quite a big healing check. There are a couple little tips and tricks you can do on this boss. I'll talk about one now. You might have seen me turn my back to the headbutt, the charge, just a second ago. I'll talk about that when I'm next to it. Severing Smash, you can just, if you're, I usually pre-blur the smash, and then it'll still be up for all the balls popping too. That just help your healer out, because blur only has like a 40-second cooldown or something like that with the conduit that you should be running. Try and kick the Hungering Drain for resources if you can. There's a timer for it on your DBM or bigwigs. You see me turn my back to the charge. That is so that I can't dodge it. So agility classes have quite high dodge chance, right? And that is a physical damage ability. So I watched the cast bar when he's doing the charge. I don't do this all the time, but especially in high Tyrannical keys I do, because that can be the difference between someone dying if they're not topped or something. If you do dodge that charge, it's only going to split the damage 4 ways instead of 5, which means that, you know, it could be the difference between someone dying or not. So all I do is just turn my back for like half a second as the charge is going through. You can't dodge from behind, so I'll definitely take the hit just every single time, right? And when it comes to Severing Smash, as I said, pre-blur them. You can also pop a darkness down when people do get stacked up and someone's popping the balls at the back. That just like mitigates damage a little bit further. And when the actual smash comes through, I make sure that I double jump and I'm in the air when it comes through, and then I get kind of the knockback from it, the little hit when he spawns the balls, and then I foe rush immediately. I haven't had it yet where I've popped a ball with my foe rush, because I think they take like a second or so to activate as like being there, or maybe it's because I'm in the air or something. But I try and dash between them if possible, but you can maybe dash through them. Obviously it's safer just to go between, but if you're like in the air in a double jump and glide, you can dash like straight over the top of the ball kind of thing. And then one other thing, obviously the probably most obvious thing that most people who are watching this video and playing Demon Hunter are already doing, the Juggernaut Rush. If you get the charge on you, you can solo with Nether Walk. Now, I've been in keys as well where we've actually opted not to solo if possible, so that we can save like immunities for one set of balls if needed. And if you go into the really high keys, there is a tactic as well where you can kite the boss away from the balls. You might have seen this on some streams. We didn't do it in this key. We did do it in the key I did before this one, which we actually depleted later on. But you can stack in the corner, drop all your balls in the corner, and then kite the boss like away from it. And then the next set of balls you can kind of pop behind him and then take the charge the opposite direction. And then you can kite like 2 sets of balls up and down the like runway strip, right? But you'd only really do that at maybe sub 15, sub 12%, something like that on like a really high key. So the next pack here, we're just going to wait outside for the tank. He's just running in. I think he got a bop from the paladin. He used his monk teleport to get out, and then you put a ringer piece at the door to kind of stack the mobs back up. You see that he's brought the sentinel with him here, so you've always got to be watching the sentinel and which direction it's facing. So you see our tank has a orange marker on his head, so we can see where he is, so that we can therefore see where the sentinel is facing. You don't want to get hit by the gargoyle strike, because that'll firstly do a huge hit on you, and secondly put quite a big bleed. So always make sure you're standing behind the sentinel and just interrupting these oppressors if you can. You can also use your cage as a demon hunter, or you know, kidney shots, cheap shots, whatever, as a rogue. Even blinds, things like that. Any kind of stops on these casters, but they will recast immediately unless you kick them. So you want to kick whatever cast you can, really. They're all quite dangerous. The Rack Sword does a lot of damage, and the curse is a silence, and you obviously don't want your healer getting silenced or something, so try and kick the curses for sure. If you don't have a kick ready and a curse is about to go through, try and use a stun or a cage or whatever, you know, like some kind of stop. And quite a common pull now is to pull those imps through to the lantern with these 3 guys here and open the lantern with them. So that's going to firstly stack up the lantern really quick, because the imps, they run into melee range, which is really nice. They don't cast like the pack. If you see the room to our right hand side, which is kind of the old route, people would pull that pack out to the lantern and kill those. It's basically the same thing. These imps I think give a little bit less percentage, but they also are much less dangerous because they're melee. They hit in melee, which means that you don't really have to worry about like having solar beams and things like that, and AoE interrupts and AoE stuns and things like that, right? For these acolytes that are in the next room. So we're going to kill these the imps with this pack, and then we're actually going to shroud So we're skipping an Overseer pack as well. One thing you can do on a Demon Hunter, as I've done just there, is you can Vengeful Retreat the chains. So you can actually just stand in melee range. You see that I just kind of put my back to the wall and I just Vengeful Retreat as soon as the chain cast finishes. I clicked off my Immolation Aura just there. But this is weird because I think I had the guy targeted and I was still in combat or something. So I just like melee swung him as I walked past him, which is really annoying. Sometimes like it can activate as well. If you Fell Rush and you have something targeted, it will kind of turn on your auto attack. So my auto attack got turned on there. I was really confused what even happened, but after watching it back, I can see that the hitbox on the oppressor was glowing slightly orange red, you know, when you have your auto attack turned on. So I was really confused because I physically clicked off my Immolation Aura that time, and then I still messed up the Shroud and I lost my stacks again from the Lantern. So I'm a little bit behind on damage here to where I should be because I've lost 2 Lantern buffs, but you know, damage is not looking too bad. I have 2-piece on my Demon Hunter right now, which is where most of the power gain is. I think that 4-piece is actually going to be quite valuable in Mythic Plus because it's just more metamorphoses over the dungeon. But yeah, most of the actual, you know, pack per pack power gain is going to be from the just 20% blade dance, 20% annihilation damage when you're sitting inside the metamorphosis all the time as well with the I-beams. But yeah, as I said about the chains, you can just put your back to the wall, Vengeful Retreat, and it will break the chain. The actual Vengeful Retreat will break the chain. You don't even need to Vengeful Retreat the distance, which is like the kind of obvious thing. Just use Vengeful Retreat to get distance to break the chain, but the actual Vengeful Retreat itself breaks the chain, so you can just stand against the wall, Vengeful Retreat, and you can actually just stay hitting the target that you're hitting. On these packs inside the ring here, next to second boss, I always take the Warden kick, because that's the one that can kind of kill someone. It's the Barbed Shackles or Chains or something. Yeah, Barbed Shackles they're called. If they go off, you can see one just went off on me there. Luckily I got a Freedom, which is exactly why I take the kick on the Warden. If you get rooted inside that orange swirly, that's basically a death. So you got to make sure that you're kicking. It only takes a 2-person interrupt rotation to kick the Warden. So if I'm in comms, I'll just say I'm taking first Warden, and then someone will take second, and then I'll take, you know, third and fifth and seventh, etc. if it goes on that long. So I just make sure that I call my Warden kicks, and someone else is probably soloing. You know, like maybe we have Rogue soloing the pesky scribes and the fury mobs here that do the curse, the little circular curse, which blows up after 5 or 6 seconds or something. I got a nice little weak aura as well for the dismantler, and that just puts an air horn every time you're doing the frontal. I found it really, really useful when I started getting it, because I know occasionally I don't really get hit by the dismantler very often, or I didn't used to, but sometimes it would just happen when there's like 5 mobs. And I've got to kick one, I got to stun another, I got to cage another, and I can kind of lose track of where the dismantler is pointing. So putting an air horn on that one was really, really useful for me. I'll just chuck it in the description down below if anyone kind of is interested in that. It's really, really useful as a melee, less so as a range, but even as a range, you could maybe use it to call the frontal for your teammates or something, right? So here we actually only got 4 stacks on the Lantern, which isn't great, to be honest. We probably should have activated it a little bit later. Maybe we could have got 7 from those 3 mobs that just died outside of it. And what you generally tend to do, especially on Fortified, less important on Tyrannical. On Tyrannical, we're kind of saving this next Lantern for stacking up the buff before the boss, right? Because the next boss is really, 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 really difficult. So on Fortified, what you can do is Shroud all the way past the Javelin pack from the Lantern that we stacked up with the Imps and Overseer pack. Then you Shroud all the way to the right, and you pull to the right. So you Shroud past Javelin, you pull to the right, and you can pull stuff into the next Lantern, and you'll go into that Lantern with like 10 stacks, and you'll just be using that Lantern basically to refresh your 10 stack buff, which is like a 50% damage increase. So just be having 50% damage increase on all the trash that you kill inside the Lantern, plus then it's refreshed at, you know, and timing it long on the 10 stacks. Then you'll run over to this next Lantern, and you'll activate that when you have maybe 20 seconds left on your buff, and then you'll kill stuff in that Lantern to refresh the buff for an entire minute, and then you get another entire minute after that. And usually you can actually clear like this whole hallway just with those buffs up. So you'll just be having a straight up 50% damage and healing buff for the entire section of trash. Sometimes you can even have a little bit remaining for the boss as well, which is still really nice on fortified. He's much less threatening on fortified, but he's still kind of difficult because he can really catch you off guard. He just does a lot of damage. He has positional requirements, plus burst requirements on the ad that he summons, plus like healing requirements with the castigate and things like that. He's just kind of annoying. And as you can see in this group, which I'll talk about again when we get to the boss, we don't actually have any curse dispels, which are very, very, very handy on the next boss, because if you do get hit by the like whirling tornadoes that fly around the inside and outside of the boss room, you can just decurse it, because it's like an anti-bloodlust. It's like a 30-second, so it's like minus 30% haste for 15 seconds, I believe. I do actually take that a couple times in the boss fight, which is pretty bad. So here we're kind of moving back to the lantern now to set up for the boss pool. The tank kind of knows which mobs are active, which gargoyles are up, which aren't. So now we're going to start stacking up the lantern buff ready for the boss. So like he's pulling trash past the boss, all the remaining trash around that area. So we can use that to get the buff to make the boss a little bit easier. He actually put a little message in the chat and said we're too fast. We were like ahead of time, so we messed up the path thing with the patrol, I believe. So we actually only had to get an extra ghoul pack here to stack up the buff. So it was less ideal. I think he wanted to pull a patrol with it as well, so we could have gotten maybe 7 stacks onto the lantern. But we've gone for a 4 stack, which is still like 20%. No, 10%. No, 20%. There's still a 20% damage buff on the boss, which is nice with the bloodlust and everything like that. And I'll talk about the boss when we get to it in a second. Going to the boss fight now then, I make sure that we focus down the because there's nothing worse than getting a drifter or a woe drifter on the boss, because it's going to do absolutely nothing. With these manifestations, you'll see me throughout the fight using my fell eruption, I believe it's called. I accidentally took a tornado there, sadly. Castigate, just move away from the group, but still try and be in range of the thing you're trying to hit if possible. Sometimes you will have to move out, as you'll see in a second though. I do always try and throw my fell eruption onto the ad as soon as it spawns. Now the reason that you do that, you can have a rogue kidney it. You'll see the rogue maybe throw some kidney on it at some point as well. I actually move away with this castigate so that those guys can hit it. The rogue kidneys it because it basically stops it from doing like the initial first 2 ticks of AoE. That can save your healer quite a lot of trouble, I guess. It just puts them less far behind, because occasionally you get people who take a tick off the floor. When the ad dies, it leaves a little patch of blood on the floor. You see the rogue kidney go down there. It just dodges like the first initial 2 ticks, and then even while it's still inside the kidney, it can still pulse, but it just doesn't pulse immediately. So it saves your healer, 2 ticks of raid-wide damage. Which is still nice, right? Someone might be low from the castigate, or someone might be low because they took a tick of the blood on the floor. And while mentioning the blood on the floor, it's really, really, really important that you move as like right before the ad is dying if possible. There's me throwing the fell eruption, on that guy, moving away for the beam and then back. Really important that you move like just before the ad dies. If you have any range, they can maybe finish it off or something. But you don't want to take a tick of the blood that it drops. And it does tick immediately. Now, there are a few occasions where I've actually fallen victim to this. So, do as I say, not as I do. But this is the correct way to do it. So, yeah, you should move away. But I have taken a tick from the floor before. Just like 1 tick where instantly I've stayed on it till it dies. Because, especially in like melee comps where, you kind of have to be in range to do your damage, and you don't really have any ranged DPS who can finish it off for you. I've stayed a little bit too long. You see the ring of peace go on there. That's really, really nice. Just before it dies, that was really nice ring of peace actually. Just those kind of hero plays. Oh, you love to see them, man. I love watching them back. I also saved a hunt. If you saw that, I saved one of my hunts for the ad, so I can hunt the ad through the boss, putting the dot on the boss and the damage and the dot on the ad. Just gets it down really, really quick, because you do want a lot of burst damage for these manifestation ads. And then this one at 0%, we just focus the boss, so that's where we commit, right? That one went down kind of smooth. You can see my damage on that fight is quite good, especially considering I took, I think, like 2 or 3 of the tornado buffs, and I had to sit that full 15-second curse, which is obviously not good. That's a misplay, but at least it isn't kind of like a fatal flaw in terms of it's going to kill me or something like that, right? Now we're just finishing up the last trash that we need before we go down. You need 74 point something%. I usually just aim for 75, but you definitely need 74 point something else. Going into the next boss, oh sorry, like before you go downstairs here to the next boss, if you want to skip the triple pack, you know, the quite deadly one before the Gauntlet, the Mist Dancer, the Gargoyle, and the Oppressor, who are joined together. That triple pack can be quite bad, especially on Fortified. So if you don't want to play that pack and you want to shroud it or invis or whatever, then 75 is probably the number that you shoot for. Now what you see here, we've only got 71.7, so we've just said that we're gonna take some bats instead. There are some bats that fly down the Gauntlet, which you can pull into the pack as you go or after you finish the last boss or something. And here the rogue actually reset the boss. He ran down, we waited in the pipe, he ran down and he pulled the boss, vanished, which spawned the relics. So now we're getting an extra set of relics. So we're going to kill Vi on this set of relics here, so that we're getting a haste buff, and we're going to pull that with all the packs here. And then the relics will respawn when the boss respawns again, when we pull the boss, and that one is the one that we're going to take the on for cooldown reduction. So kind of nice getting an extra set of relics for free here. It's just basically a mini bloodlust to go with the boss for us, which is really, really nice. So we're going to try and time the death of the Vi. At the end of the pack, you can see that we're not really focusing on cleaving it down. Like, sure, when it's in the middle of the pack, we'll do some damage to it. But we're not really focusing it so that we can get the maximum uptime on the buff it gives during the boss fight. So now we've killed it. Everyone's pretty much ready to go. We got the 42 seconds of the haste buff. And now we are jumping into the boss. Now this boss in Tyrannical is really, really scary. I feel like I'm fighting for my life this entire time, and we actually made the team comp around immunities just for this boss. This is a pug, by the way, but we actually made the team comp kind of around this boss. I always shoot to get 3 orbs, and then I blur if I have it ready. 3 orbs plus blur is pretty safe, or 4 orbs with no blur. Blur is really, really nice. But we're basically rotating immunities. We've got like a rogue who can Cloak of Shadows. We've got a hunter who can turtle. I can netherwalk. Paladin can bubble. I don't know if the tank can diffuse magic. I assume so. So we're kind of just rotating that so that every single time we can grab 4 balls each, which is making it a lot easier on us, right? I called there that I was going to take the 4th solo. 4th immunity, should I say? But I think I actually went 5th because Cloak of Shadows is only a 2-minute cooldown, meaning the rogue can do it on the 1st and 4th. So I think we went rogue, hunter, paladin, rogue, me, which definitely takes the stress off the healer a little bit. As a tank, I think you only need like 1 to 2 balls maximum for damage reduction. But yeah, this boss is one of those ones where you really, really just can't be greedy. You just should never greed on the I think it's called the Endless Torment, which is the little golden swirlies which fly down. You can also use darkness on the boss. It was called for in my group, so we had like someone doing immunity plus darkness for the others. This one's just really, really a stress test on your healer to keep up, but also your DPS in a way to kind of allow each other to you know, have space to pick up the balls. You don't want to be stealing other people's balls, so what you got to be kind of doing while you're looking for the balls is passively, you know, keeping in your peripheral vision where everyone else is trying to go. You don't want to be running to the same ball that, you know, your healer's running to, for example. I've seen a lot of people who have had that happen to them, and then they just put a ... in the chat or something. A couple times through this fight, I allow someone else to go for the ball that I was actually initially running to, because I know that I have the dash as a demon hunter. Like, I can fell rush. I got the move speed. I got the capabilities to do that if I absolutely need to. If you play Necrolord or something, you know, you can cast the Fleshcraft as well as it's coming through. because that gives you a damage reduction while you're channeling, so that can be another 20% damage reduction there, which is basically like 1 extra ball. So just try and think about rotating your defensives here. And the dot that it leaves from the Right of Supremacy is based on the initial hit that you take. You see how Paladin dies there? I believe he probably got sniped on his balls. But yeah, the dot it leaves on you is based on damage that you take. So if you actually take no damage from the initial hit, the dot will be really, really small. But if you take loads of damage, the dot will be really, really big. So you want to mitigate that beginning hit as much as you can, and the rest should just follow through, as long as the rest of your group is kind of in sync. But yeah, on Tyrannical, immunities on this boss is really, really huge. Like mages as well with double ice block, they can do it twice, you know, 2 immunities there, which is really, really good. Try and think and factor that in. Like I thought that when we were building the group comp, because these guys wanted some immunities, it was for the first boss, and then they pointed out that third boss is really, really rough. And you do see our Paladin put a lot of ... in the chat there, because I think he must have got sniped on his balls or something. I don't even know. Maybe it was me. I try to let people run free to them, but occasionally in pugs you do get tanks who really want to take the balls for themselves, and it leaves the rest of the group kind of suffering, because the tank can just take the hits so much easier than a lot of the group, right? Now we're going to go for a shroud skip again, which is going to be the only shroud skip I actually successfully pull off in this key. I was like shitting myself. I kind of like started gaslighting myself about me being terrible at shroud skips, because like first time I did Immolation Aura, made sure to click it off. Second time I had the guy targeted, and then this time I was like, okay, I have no Immolation Aura, I have no target, like there's no way I can mess this up. But I was still really, really shaky about it. But we got through it, and now we're just waiting for some mana before the Gauntlet. Now the first pack on the Gauntlet is pretty easy, because it's just sprites, maybe a couple acolytes. The sprites don't really do that much, but you want to be, you know, maybe using an AoE stun if you can, especially when the cadets and acolytes come in on the next pack. So we're gonna stagger this. We're gonna kill off these little ones with AoE, and then we're gonna chain pull in the next pack. The boss Carl occasionally does like a dash. I believe it has like an 18-second internal cooldown. There are weak auras to track it, or you can kind of mentally track it in your head. Like if you got a good mental clock in your head, every 15 seconds or so, just try and make sure you're not stacking on anyone else, or else it might hit 2 of you, because he does the dash and it puts a big bleed on you, and it does like a quite small swirl around you. It used to be really, really big, but now it's fairly small. So just try and make sure you're not stacking on other melees here, or other ranged if you're playing ranged, and you should be good. It'll really, really catch your healer off guard if that happens. Now here the monk tried to kite, but it was a little bit too late, because I think the boss jumped over to him as well, which was kind of a bad series of events. We got the combat res off, but I died to aggro while that was happening, and then I asked them if I should run back or wait for a combat res, because obviously they can't res because it's a gauntlet, right? I thought I would run back and use Invis Potion, because I see that I have Invis Potion up. So I asked, and they said yeah, to Invis. So I went back to Invis, and that was fine. And then randomly, just before I popped Invis, I went into combat, so I couldn't for some reason. So that meant that I then had to run past anyway and die and get combat res anyway. So we just lost a bunch of time there, which was really, really sad, but it is what it is. Kind of annoying. Maybe if I had popped Invis earlier, it would have been fine, but I wasn't ready to know that I would just randomly go into combat, because I'm not even in the Gauntlet area at that point. So maybe that's a tip or a takeaway from this, to Invis before you go through the door into that room that you're going to do the Invis Potion in, right? So here I just made sure I died on the bridge, so that they can just run back and res me, while the Gargans and things are spawning. But yeah, it is what it is. Just one of those Sanguine Depths things, one of those things that can just happen in the game. The rest of the Gauntlet is fairly self-explanatory. You see there I got the bleed on me, which is a lot of damage, to be honest. And then we pop the lantern, and then now we can just kind of pull everything in. We have so much damage, so much healing. You still see though that the people are going very, very low every time the boss does the charge. So we're just going to now stand in the lantern for the full 1 minute duration that lantern's up. Pulling in these Gargans and killing those inside the lantern will just refresh the buff every single time. The idea is that you refresh the buff once you finish the area, you kind of want one more set of refreshes, and then you're going to move on with the boss, right? So here we're probably going to pull in these gargants. The boss is going to phase out at 80%. So we just got one last set of refreshes, and now we're going to move with the boss to the next area, cleaving him as we go, so we don't waste time walking, pulling in the next pack as well with the and the boss is now going to go run off, and we're just going to instantly pull him back in whilst we have, or her I think, whilst we have the buff from the lantern, right? I actually took aggro on the dismantler here, so I ran away. I almost got the deconstruct on me, went back in, almost got the deconstruct on me again, outranged it again. Cleave's coming in, so I had to wait with my damage, but I got my I-beam off. Tank got aggro on the deconstructor, and now all is good in the world, and we've got like 30 seconds left on the buff for one last pack. Sorry, 2 last packs before the boss, and the time is looking pretty good on 8 minutes here. As I mentioned, we were low on percentage after we went downstairs to the third boss. I'm not really sure what happened there. We took loads and loads of damage from the smash in the bubble there. But this is actually the last time that we faced the boss in the Gauntlet. So the Gauntlet is over. Oh, I think the tank didn't put the shield down because he popped it early. I think he thought the boss encounter kind of phase was over. So he popped the shield a bit early, so we didn't have a shield for the Gloom Squall. So I chucked the darkness down. I saw it coming. I chucked the darkness down, and I think I used the defensive of some kind. Maybe I just lived it. But here we had it back up, and we pulled a Dreadbat into this pack. So you just got to watch the interrupt on that one. I think it's either a fear or like a leech thing, but it doesn't really do much. So it's just 3% that you can pull into the pack as you go. There are also some gargoyles, the classic sentinel gargoyles that fly down this hallway too. So we can try and grab one of those if you do need extra percentage. Try and just like pull it into a pack, but then you got to watch out because it's going to be doing a big bleed and things like that, right? So just be careful with the trash here. Right now, I just really don't want to throw this key at the last hurdle because time is looking pretty good, you know, like 6 minutes for a boss. This last boss does take a while, and our boss damage wasn't particularly strong in the group here. You can see the hunter is doing absolutely insane overall, but you'll see this now with marksman hunters that they're coming into, they seem to be popping up a lot. I don't know if they're going to be meta once double legendary comes out. It's kind of early to say, which is why I haven't made, you know, guides. I am going to be making some demon hunter guides and other class guides as well, but I'm going to be doing that when, you know, builds are established and double legendaries are out and things like that, so I don't have to remake them, you know, in 2 weeks time. Yeah, we pull a second Dreadbat here, and we're going to just pull this into the next pack. Again, watching the interrupt on that one. But yeah, it looks like hunters, they do absolutely incredible AoE, particularly marksman hunters with the 2-piece tier set. It is ridiculous AoE damage, and it's like a 1-minute cooldown on Kyrian hunters. It's a nice 1-minute trash killing build, but sadly, a lot of the hunters that I've played with don't do very much boss damage. At least the marksman hunters, right? Obviously, that's fine as long as you can account for it. In Tyrannical, you definitely feel it, but if you can take maybe like, you know, the hunter to kill the trash, and then two other people, 2 of the other DPS, kind of like single target, a bit more single target oriented, you can probably offset that. Here it seemed like I was probably the one doing the boss damage in this group, and I'm not really too sure about Demon Hunter boss damage right now. I think it'll be absolutely incredible once we can go Venthyr with double legendary, so that's next reset onwards. I think Venthyr, especially in Tyrannical, will be like the pick for keys. I still think we're going to be playing some Night Fae as well, maybe for Fortified. I'm not sure yet. Again, like the meta hasn't really been set with double legendary and things like that, so it'd be cool to see the evolution of that. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to switching it up, playing Venthyr with the Sinful Brand build and stuff like that. I think that'll be really cool, and I think the boss damage is going to be ridiculous. Like, just looking at sims on websites like Blood Mallet, Demon Hunters are gaining like 3k DPS just from going Venthyr over Night Fae for like the raid build and stuff. So that's really incredible to see. I'm thinking, you know, yeah, Sinful Brand has like a 45-second cooldown. Once you have the 4-piece, you can meta more often. So in keys, I don't think Venthyr will be awful. I think it will be like the boss killing spec, which will still do like pretty decent damage, especially on keys like I don't know, like spires maybe, where you have a lot of pools where it's just like 2 or 3 mobs. Same like spires, TOP, things like that. I think you'll play Venthyr if you're used to playing Outlaw or watching a couple of my old videos on Rogue. Like anytime that you'd play Outlaw over sub, basically, I think that you'll always play Venthyr. So most likely spires, maybe even Gambit. I'm not sure. Like Gambit probably, Selea's Gambit in Tazavesh, and TOP spires Gambit. I think that will be like definite all-time Venthyr, and then I think you'll probably just play Venthyr on Tyrannical, right? I see throughout this boss, by the way, I've kind of been letting it play. I haven't really got too many of the Wicked Rushes on me this fight, but one thing you can do on Demon Hunter is you can double jump off the edge and glide back. So as you can see, I'm trying to time my double jump off the edge and then just like doing a little spin with my mouse and gliding back. So you want to jump last second as you get to the edge, double jump at like the apex of your jump. That's like the top point, right? So you get like the most hang time in the air, and then you want to turn back and glide back. And what you'll do is completely avoid the dot on yourself, which will help your healer out. You know, it's less damage on you, it's less stress. But also sometimes it can like completely stop the charge. If you're the first guy with the charge, at least I believe this is how it works from watching it back a few times. If you're like first in line for the charge, I don't think he'll do any other charge. If you time it just right, I don't think he'll do any other charges afterwards. So you can actually just stop anyone getting the bleed by being the guy who jumps off the edge and jumps back, right? You'll jump and you'll wait, and then you'll jump a second time, and then you'll wait, and then you'll glide back, and you can basically bug out the charge. I've heard rumors of it resetting the boss, but I've been doing this for a couple months now, and I've never had the boss reset or evade or anything like that on me. So I think it's safe. But I will put a slight disclaimer that someone told me this one time that maybe it could bug out the boss. But I think you're pretty much safe to do it. And, you know, if that happens, I don't know, just go next, you know. I think it's a pretty safe way to deal with it. But yeah, even if you don't manage to stop the charge entirely, it's still like one less debuff for your healer to heal, which is really, really nice. And when I'm trying to do it, I always try to dodge in the direction of the piercing blurs, so it usually overlaps. At least when you get into the boss fight, it seems to overlap with the piercing blur. So you're dodging those 3 lines. So the rush comes in, I look where the lines are, and I try and like time it so that I'm completely off the edge when my bar comes down. I'll put the weak aura in the comments down below, or the description down below again. For that blur, you see it says like blur in 3, 2, 1. I try and make sure as that hits 0, I'm like completely off the edge. You can dodge it kind of like just by walking if you're just moving, or you can fell rush it or something. But if you're like completely out of the map when that hits 0, you should just stop the charge in its tracks. You know what I mean? So here we actually made it we cut it really, really fine. Only 20 seconds remaining on that key, which you know, could have gone smoother, but at the end of the day, a timed key is a timed key. So it's that's just about how it goes. It's a fun one though. Couple things that were cool to showcase, couple things that I messed up, but yeah, always fun to do one of these commentaries. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I need to go and grab a drink because my throat is now killing me. Hopefully my voice hasn't been too raspy for your taste. Again, feel free to check out the Twitch stream. Feel free to come spectate there, or just come and ask me any questions if you'd like. We got a nice friendly community over there too, if you just want to hang out, make some friends and stuff like that. It's basically the hub for everybody, and if you want notifications when I go live there as well, then do join the Discord. I'll link everything down below in the description. Also, if you missed it, I actually recently opened a Patreon, so if you'd like to support me and the channel, feel free to check that out. I'll also link that in the description. Feel free to check out the tiers and things like that. Big shout out to the people who are supporting me over on Patreon. Just a handful of them currently, but I really, really do appreciate the support. The names will go on screen right now of the people in the relevant tier who I'm going to thank at the end of the videos. So thank you guys. Thank you, Valley Rush, and everyone else who supported me on Patreon. As always, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.